So what is a case study? A case study is a description of an actual administrative situation involving a decision to be made or a problem to be solved. Now, in other words, case study is a factual or a hypothetical situation that can be given to you so that you can solve it by using a certain methodology and coming to a conclusion that would actually give a comprehensive solution to the problem. There is no one solution to the problem. Generally, there are many solutions because there are many approaches to a case study. That is why it's a study. So let's get started on how exactly to solve a case study. So let's discuss the types of case studies. The first one is illustrative case study, which is basically, it's a typical situation where a couple of instances are given from an event to show what the situation is like, and then you need to solve the problem. The other one is exploratory or a pilot case study. That means it's a condensed case study performed before implementing a large-scale investigation. The next one is culminative case study, which serves to aggregate the information from several sites collected at different times, and then a solution is required because it's a very elaborate case study. Critical instance case study is to examine one or more sites, either the purpose or examining a situation of unique interest. Now we're going to be taking a couple of case studies as an example. One is going to be a general case study and the other is going to be more of a culminative case study. So we are going to be looking at both these examples and how to solve them, the steps that you need to solve them, and the possible solutions for these case studies. So let's go through the steps to solve a case study. The first step is a short cycle case study. Now, what is a short process where you are looking at a general case study maybe, and the things that you need to take care of are you basically quickly read through the case study, you understand the process, you understand a few things about it, giving it a brief but a thorough reading, and figuring out the following. Make sure that you look at the first and the last paragraph of the case study because they give you a lot of comprehensive idea about what is the case study all about. You should be able to figure out the following from this. I mean, who's the decision maker in the case and what is the position of the decision maker and the responsibilities, and what appears to be the issue and its significance for the organization that the case study is being done for. Again, the reason for the issues arisen and the role of the decision maker in this entire thing, and the level of urgency of the situation. Now that's the key thing. If the level of the urgency is established, then you are able to understand what kind of solution you are supposed to give, and what is the level of solution that you need to attain, and what is then depending on that, what is the strategy that you're going to be following in order to give solutions to your case study. Give a sincere look at the exhibits and the figures if there are any, because if there are any kind of data that's provided, make sure that you understand the data pretty well in order to reach to a particular conclusion. Don't just go through the data and assume things about the data. Make sure that you have a complete understanding about the data, and make sure that you cover all the areas of that case, of that data that need to be covered, that are really important. If there are any kind of case questions that are available, make sure that you read them, because that is that should give you the direction towards which you need to start finding a solution. So make sure that the main issues and the questions that are given at the end of the case study, if there are, you should be able to answer them. That would actually give you the complete solution. The next step is the long cycle process. Now that is where you actually get into the detailed reading of the case, and you need to define every issue, understand every issue, every possible issue that is given in the case study, and you should basically have a very fair idea about what appears to be the problem. right? It could be that the questions asked would be different and what appears to be the problem could be something else also. So make sure that you understand that you are able to give a thorough reading to the case, and you are able to come up with your own version or your own understanding of what possibly could be the problem, because that would actually give you the sense of the solution also. How do you know that this is the problem? So you need to understand what is the order in which you need to provide the solution, because if you look at the case study in a detailed manner, you will be able to understand what is the first thing that needs to be done in order to curb the ongoing cycle of the problems that are showing in the case study. So whenever you are going through the long cycle process of the case study, thorough reading means identifying the issues in detail, and you need to prioritize which issues to solve first and which issues to solve later. So analyze the case really well. When you say analyzing the case, that means finding out the real reason behind the issue. That means that when you give a comprehensive when you have a comprehensive understanding about the entire case, you will be able to judge what are the processes that were adhered to by the organization, what is the methodology that the organization uses, what are the possible limitations and opportunities that can be identified, and what are the kind of people involved in these methodologies, how are they approaching this problem. And basically you get a very detailed understanding of if there are any other solutions or any other opportunities which are overlooked in this case study. So when you have a very detailed, comprehensive understanding of the case study, you also will be able to generate alternative ideas of your own, and because of that you know how you will know, because of the limitations, how practically implementable your ideas will be. You should avoid the meat sandwich method of providing the solution also, because okay, so what does the meat sandwich method mean? Providing ideas, like you are providing them 3 ideas, 2 of which are not so well articulated and the one stands out which is perfect. So the obvious choice for the person who's reading the solution or understanding the solution is the one that is very elaborate and very well articulated. The other 2 would, because they're not very well articulated, the obvious choice becomes the third one. So that's called the meat switch alternative. So don't do that. Always make sure whenever you are approaching the solution for the case study, all the solutions that you can possibly come up with should be very comprehensive and very detailed. So let's have a look at the first case study here. Religious tourism, also known as faith tourism, is a type of tourism where people travel individually or in groups for pilgrimage, missionary or leisure purposes. Religious tourism has a big future in India. India is richly endowed with ancient temples and religious festivals. Religions originating in India, be it Hinduism, Sikhism, Jainism or Buddhism, have a vibrant culture and spiritual philosophy. Together they present a viable alternative way of life as compared to the materialism and confrontational prevalent in the West. Now with this case study, there are a couple of issues or questions given. So let's have a look at that. The issues that this particular case study is facing is that the tourism in any region needs to be regulated to prevent the negative impacts. Major problems include the infringement of the carrying capacity of that region. So most religious centers in the country, major or minor, suffer from short but intense seasons that alter the dynamics of the region for the rest of the year. And the waste management systems are not proper. So in parts of a derivative of the problem for carrying capacity, management problem has aggravated as science and technology grew to usher them to an area of plastic, which is again very bad for the environment. The air pollution is again has a part to play. So the sheer volume of the travel in this niche makes the figure mind-boggling, which while the trains still manage to absorb a majority of the travel volume, quite a major religious tourism site in India are accessible by road or foot only. Monetizing the religion is another problem, because in the race of developing as many niches as possible, there is often an issue of religion being monetized, as the honest community gets increasingly driven by the profit motive. And the lack of scrutiny of religious trusts, there is a need to put forward regulations which governs the financial status of the regulations of religious trusts, so as to look as an alibi for global concerns about money laundering and terrorist financial activities. I would like you to have a look at the issues and the questions. I'll just repeat for you this entire case studies. Just have a look at that. And the issues that have been given with the case study. So these are the possible issues that have been identified because of that main problem. So the impact of religious tourism on the country and the environment is what the issue is all about. So if the first thing you do is, again, understand the main issue, the main problem. What is the main problem that the company or the organization is facing? Once you identify that, you will be able to have a comprehensive understanding of what the possible solutions can be. So in order to solve this, case study, let's have a look at what are the possible solutions. Now, because this case study does not talk about a specific religious site, it just talks about general busy religious sites. Because India is so diverse and it has hundreds or probably thousands of such religious places, we cannot take all of them into account. So we just end up selecting a couple, probably apparently based on the region and the maximum number of issues identifying with this case study. So here we have taken the Siddhivinayak Ganpati Mandir and Haji Ali in Mumbai as two most visited sites as a part of religious tourism. So let's have a look of how exactly are we going to solve this. So let's have a look at the objective, which is to study the motives of the domestic tourists behind visiting the Sri Siddhivinayak Ganpati Mandir and Haji Ali, and to study the experience of the domestic tourists visiting Sri Siddhivinayak Ganpati Mandir and Haji Ali. Now, because we need to understand the basic problem, why are these sites really visited so frequently? What is the emotion behind it, or what is the logic behind it, or what is the reason behind it? So that's what the objective of the case study has become. So the study areas that we are going to be looking at is basically the Siddhivinayak Ganpati temple at Mumbai is a very old temple, and it fulfills the desires of the worshippers. That is why a lot of worshippers go there, and because it has a historical interest, it also has a very great archaeological importance. So if not for religion, a lot of people are going there for archaeological importance as well. So it is very popular because a lot of people go there. It's the most popular tourist site. So basically it's very popular, is why it's one of the most significant places, why people go there quite a lot. Now coming to the Haji Ali, that is also one of the oldest mosques in Mumbai, and it is a mosque and a tomb. So it is one of the top 10 attractions. and it is situated in the middle of the ocean, so the location makes it pretty preferable for people who are coming from the tourism point of view to flock at these pilgrimages and take the experience with them. And on certain days, that is Thursdays and Fridays, maximum crowd arrives at this at these locations. So now, in order to come to a solution, there's a research methodology that is followed. That is, now you take both these sites in the middle, as in make them the universe of the problem, as in the nucleus of the problem, and make the entire universe revolve around it. So because we were initially talking about all religious sites of the nation, we were not the data would have been diverse. Now we have actually taken up 2 samples and working on them. So we make them the nucleus of the problem and make sure that the entire solution that we come to revolves around that, which is in turn going to be working for the other religious places as well. The tourists can be interviewed on the streets or the nearby restaurants, and a questionnaire can be drawn wherein questions can be asked of these tourists about why do they come there, and what exactly is it that draws them there, or what is it that they would like to change in that particular area, or any ideas that they might have. And of course, secondary data can be collected off the internet. The travel patterns can be recorded. For Haji Ali, I think the travel pattern has already been recorded as Fridays and Thursdays. For Siddhi Vinayak, equally we can look at the travel patterns of how frequently people are coming and going there, and on what days or what time of the year. So now that we have done the long haul research about this entire thing, let's look at the possible solutions. Developing religious tourism circuits through a hub model. Now, what is a hub model? Providing the tourists a holistic tourism experience where you're bringing them in groups rather than them coming individually and making their own choices. You providing them with a certain environment where they come and they do what they need to do and then they leave. Developing an integrated infrastructure for the religious tourism and development, and scrutinizing the religious trusts, because they are the ones that are controlling these areas. They should be really put into scrutiny, as in what are the things they are doing to make sure that the religious tourism is regulated in that area. Pricing of the religious tourism product should be regulated, because if that is not regulated, if it is too cheap or too expensive, again that is also a relevant factor for why there is a chaos or a problem in these particular regions regarding environment and pollution. And improving the connectivity of the religious tourism circuits to promote them. So make sure that if people are able to commute quickly, they'll be able to come and go at a much faster pace. So that means there's not going to be enough stagnation there at the area where the religious place is. So that means if people keep coming and going, they would not actually the issues like, so make sure that the people keep coming and going, so there would not be any issues like the air pollution or the waste management kind of issues that we had earlier. And we'll be able to control the entire environment really well. Let's move on to the case study number 2. Now this is a general case study. It is hypothetical again. It says a private rail company has hired a quality manager and found out that major problem is of punctuality. Upon discussion with the station master and drivers, he was told that damaged tracks and old engines are the major factors. What should be the strategies of the manager to curb the problem? Now they don't have any questions attached to it. There are no prior issues that are attached to it. So as a reader, you will only be looking at the possible solutions based on the information that you are getting. So we can have so many possible solutions for this, because we have an open arena where we can actually look at. We are not we do not have questions or issues that limit our sense of understanding of the problem. and thus we have the following solutions. So based on the case study that we just read, these are the possible solutions, because it did not give us any kind of issues or questions that would follow. So that means that as a reader, we have an open forum where we can understand at our own level what could be the possible issues. So let's look at the solutions, which can be very many. The first solution could be that the trains, the main problem is, why are the trains late, right? And they've hired somebody to make sure that they find a particular solution. So the trains can be late because there are damaged tracks and old engines. The quality of the engine is not good, or the quality manager is not keeping a correct check on the routes that are being followed for the schedules. There is nobody who has actually listed down any of the issues why the trains are late. So for the first thing we need to do is list down all the responsible factors, and then make sure that they are handled one at a time. All the departments need to coordinate really well. Maybe they are not coordinating well, and that is why this issue is coming. So they need to coordinate well in order to make sure that the trains are arriving on time. If there's a requirement of civil engineering team somewhere so that the damaged tracks can be repaired, that can be done immediately. So that team needs to be contacted. The accounts department of the organization also needs to be communicated with, because they need to understand where exactly is the budget going. Are they spending it in the right direction? If not, then that needs to change. They need to appoint a project manager probably to handle all the repairing and the tracks, because if they don't have a good project manager, that means that decisions are not being centralized, and hence there is no check on what is being done in this private firm. You can actually go through the entire possible solutions, the list here. What kind of engines are being possibly used? Is there any kind of regional pollution control laws that are being adhered to? What are the parameters that decide a particular engine has to be repaired or discarded? These are the kind of things that need to be taken into account. Earthquakes, landslides, are they a part of the route of the trains? If that is the case, then that would also hamper the arrival or the departure of the trains on time. So it is also vital to suggest remedial solutions to lay the tracks at different locations or different patterns in such areas. So in the end, we can conclude that we must prepare a balance sheet that depicts all the costs, including the repairing and the laying of new tracks and the purchasing that is happening. That would actually give us a very fair idea about how to go about this issue and where the actual problem lies. So these are the possible solutions. You can go through them one by one if you wish. So this was the video on case studies. In case you have any further questions, please make sure to mention them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.